All right, I'm working on a video that's taking way longer than anticipated. It won't be finished until tomorrow. It's worth the extra work though. So I thought this would be a good time to post a quick response to a question that keeps coming up. Here's a recent example. David, I like and appreciate all your videos, but can you please make a video educating us on how to understand and decipher the organization and numbering systems of the many hadith? I sometimes try to look up hadith based on the reference numbers you give, and I end up seeing differences or just getting lost in the Google wilderness. So I put hadiths up on the screen. People try to look them up online and can't find them. A more extreme version of this problem is that I'll put a hadith on the screen. A Muslim will try to look up the hadith based on the number, and when he goes to his edition of Sahih Muslim or whatever, he finds a completely different hadith there. That's when I get a message saying, David, you're a liar. I looked up the reference you gave and it says something different. Stop fabricating hadiths. As if I spend all my time making these lovely graphics of hadiths that I made up. So let me break things down for anyone who's having a problem locating hadiths. This is volume 1 of Sahih Muslim. This is also volume 1 of Sahih Muslim. They have different publishers and different translators. Unfortunately, they also have different numbering systems. So if you quote a hadith from this volume and you give the number, and someone tries to look up the same number in this volume, it's not going to be there. There's no good way around this problem. Different editions of hadith collections sometimes use different numbering systems, so it may take a bit of searching to find the same hadith in a different edition. But I do have a few tips based on my time working with different editions. Let's start with the bad news. Different editions of Sahih Muslim are all over the place with their numbering, so this one's difficult to work with if you've got a different edition. Fortunately, the other 5 major collections are much easier to navigate. Sunan an-Nasai, Jami at-Tirmidhi, and Sunan ibn Majah only have one popular edition each. So if you're looking up a reference, it should match up. Sunan Abu Dawud has 2 main editions that don't match up in their numbering, but they're close. So if you look up a hadith based on the number and it's not there, you've got a different edition, but the hadith you're looking for will be somewhere close by. It might be 12 or 13 hadiths earlier or later, but it won't be too difficult to find. It'll be in the general vicinity. Sahih al-Bukhari is the most important collection. There are 2 main editions and they use totally different numbering systems, but you can still find what you're looking for. The newer numbering system just numbers all the hadiths straight through the collection, the same way the other collections are numbered. So this is volume 1. It contains hadiths numbered from 1 through 875. If you pick up volume 2, it starts with 876 and continues from there. So each hadith has its own number, starting at 1 and ending at 7,563. Under the older numbering system, each volume started over at 1. If you picked up volume 1, you'd have hadith number 1, then hadith number 2, then hadith number 3, and so on. If you picked up volume 6, you'd have hadith number 1, then hadith number 2, then hadith number 3, and so on. So if you wanted to give a reference under the older system, you'd say volume 3, number 221. Some people would include the book numbers as well. The book numbers are like chapters. So lots of times if someone's quoting Sahih al-Bukhari, they'll give the reference as volume 2, book so-and-so, number so-and-so. I prefer the newer numbering system because it's simpler just to give a single number, but there are times when someone gives a reference using the older system and you've got the newer edition, or someone gives you a reference using the newer system and you've got an older edition, and you need to find it. This isn't very difficult to do because the hadiths are still in the same order in the 2 editions, and both editions are 9 volumes. So if someone tells me to look up volume 2, number 123 of Sahih al-Bukhari, I say, okay, they're using the older system, and I need to find it in the newer system. So I can go to volume 2, see that volume 2 starts at number 876 in the newer edition, and count forward until I get to the 123rd hadith, which will have a different number, but it will still be in the same place in the book. There are some minor variations. It might be a few back or a few forward, but it will be in the general area. So navigating the Hadiths can be a little tricky because of the different numbering systems. I think that the numbers will eventually become standardized so that everyone uses the same system. And I use the Darussalam editions because I think that Darussalam is going to come out on top. In other words, I think that people will start using these numbers more and more until there's no confusion about numbers. Until then, it's just going to take a bit of work going from one edition to another. Hope that helps. See you all tomorrow.